Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for logging in. My name's Mark Ramos. I'm an artist, educator, and musician. In my practice, I work with things like web and software programming, physical computing, and digital sculpture to make fragile post-colonial technology because I'm interested in manifestations of network culture within the diaspora. And like many of you, I've been doing a lot of these things from home. So a year in, one of the things I got really into, hashtag WFH, was making coffee sans coffee shop. So I have this like whole routine now where I make a long espresso on the stovetop and I add 2 ounces of water heated to just below 200 degrees and pour it into my cat thermos. And that's the coffee that I'll drink all day. But everyone knows that the most important thing about coffee really are the beans. So third wave coffee, which apparently takes its name from third wave feminism, focuses on the origin and provenance of our beans and identifies a part of the world known as the coffee belt. It's this tropical equatorial global region where most of today's coffee is grown. Third wave coffee, much like third wave feminism, asks us to consider critical contextual frameworks and hierarchies. So in addition to the actual coffee itself, we're also interested in where and how it's grown, roasted, whether it's fair trade, sustainable, et cetera. These things are important to people when we buy coffee. So what if we applied the same level of transparency to how technology manifests in these same tropical coffee growing places? Yes, I'm aware that tech goes through checkpoints at various stages of development, but we're still primarily focused on movement. We don't necessarily talk about getting a new phone the same way that we talk about a single origin Arabica. Well, Kelsa and Stephanie do, but that's a whole different story. So in these tropical coffee growing places, they also often support technological networks with labor and production, customer service call centers, manufacturing, as well as cleaning and disposal services, and of course, luxury vacations for stressed out tech workers. So what if we saw all of that in addition to the user end? Enter hashtag tropical futurism. It's a hashtag that I use to describe new media artworks and community-based programming that focuses on the place of the developing world in our collective visioning of the future. So I'm making artwork that's informed by imperial colonial past, current global service industry economies, and a future of rising sea levels that threaten to drown tropical island nations. This work thinks about what it's like to be outsourced too. So the first piece that I'm going to demo is called DesktopTropicalia. I've got some video documentation coming up, but in case you want to visit it live, the link's on the screen and also drop it in the chat. Before I do that though, this iteration is being hosted on Arabyte Online Gallery. So if it makes your computer run slow, just remember it's them and it's not my code. So I'll drop the link in the chat, but again, I've got video documentation coming up. So I've also kind of been really into making these loaders lately as kind of symbols for how we wait for things on the internet. So once this loads, I'll talk a little bit more about the piece. So Desktop Tropicalia is a tropical island getaway on the internet. I wanted to create this online space where all of these contradictory ideas of the tropics and technology could sort of exist together. If you're visiting the piece online, you can click and interact with most of the objects. For some reason though, nobody ever clicks on the ocean, which makes a dolphin jump out. This is an older work that I innovatively entitled Captcha. So most of us have encountered Captcha tests on the web as gateways to internet content. They're supposed to prevent nefarious actions by making determinations if the user is a human or a bot, and the algorithm is this historic Turing test. So this piece introduces post-colonial imagery as an added test for humanity. This project I'm working on now, it's a programming library that allows users to program using the Bybuy alphabet and vocabulary. So Bybuy is a pre-Hispanic Philippine script or writing system. The widespread use of Bybuy really ended with Spanish colonialism when it was replaced by the Latin alphabet. So this project attempts to reframe the act and practice of writing code as not just participation in technological culture, but also the retention and reconfiguration of pre-colonial history and knowledge systems. Programming language fluency is one of the fastest growing kinds of language acquisition in the developing world. So this project aims to make the act of coding part of retention and reconfiguration of pre-colonial culture. This is an older piece called Jeepney Drones. I wanted to fuse tropical imagery with the visual language of the future in really obvious ways. So I 3D printed jeepney forms and decorated them with vinyl prints I made using real jeepney decorations I found on the web. If you're not aware, a jeepney is a form of public transportation in the Philippines. Originally, they were made from old World War II Jeeps, and they become somewhat symbols for the overcrowded, polluted, poverty-afflicted, quote unquote, unsafe conditions in Metro Manila. So I'm interested in the place of developing countries within a global culture that increasingly prioritizes rapid innovation and consumerism. Here's some documentation shots of this piece from different angles, but if you go to my website, there is some video footage of me flying it around Columbia University also. This piece is called #FantasyIsland. It's a Wi-Fi enabled sculpture of the tropical island emoji. This documentation is from an installation on Governor's Island as part of the NADA Art Fair a few years ago. So the work broadcasts media of tropical vacations scraped from the web and also acts as a captive Wi-Fi portal. I call it Wi-Fi enabled because when people connect to it, it starts to push archived Firefest tweets to their phone, allowing one to relive the highs and lows of Firefest through the tweets, AKA the millennial Enron. So with this piece, I was interested in the manufacturing of desire in the social media age, constructions of scam, scandal, and luxury colonialism present with contemporary tourist economies. So this last piece, you can actually launch on your phone. It's called Reforestation. And if you point your phone at this QR code that's on your screen right now, it should open up a web page that you can plant 3D palm trees by tapping your screen. If you don't want to do all that, I've also got some video documentation coming up. But again, you can just point your phone camera at this QR code. So in the middle there is kind of the video documentation. So Reforestation uses AR to plant 3D palm tree models uploaded by users to the Google Poly 3D database. As tropical deforestation continues to be a very real and present threat, these user-generated AR forests may end up being all that remains. Ironically, Google Poly is also shutting down in June. So kind of to end, my asks are, I'm interested in making connections for further institutional support and alignment. I want to be a deepfake influencer. If you've got contacts or email addresses for orgs or curators that I should know about, please hit me up in the breakout room. I'm also collectively working on a group show that looks at the critical poetics of the blockchain and NFTs. So if you want to watch a Bitcoin sun rising over an Ethereum mountain range together, I'll be live streaming from New Art City in the breakout rooms. Thank you so much.